In the dusty archives of human history lies one of archaeology's greatest mysteries: a golden chest said to contain the very tablets upon which God inscribed the Ten Commandments. The Ark of the Covenant, described in ancient texts as a weapon of devastating power, capable of leveling armies and toppling city walls. But was this sacred relic merely a symbol of faith, or could it have been something far more extraordinary? Tonight, we investigate whether the Ark of the Covenant was ancient humanity's first superweapon. According to the Hebrew Bible, the Ark was constructed around 1300 BCE during the Israelites' exodus from Egypt. The specifications were precise and extraordinary for their time: 2.5 cubits long, 1.5 cubits wide and high, roughly 4 feet by 2.5 feet, crafted from acacia wood and covered entirely in pure gold, topped with 2 golden cherubim whose wings stretched protectively over the mercy seat. But it was more than just an ornate chest. Ancient texts describe the Ark as the earthly throne of the Almighty, a conduit between the divine and mortal realms. The Israelites carried it before them into battle, and according to Scripture, it possessed terrifying power. When the Philistines captured it, they were struck down by plagues and tumors. When a man named Uzzah merely touched it to steady it during transport, he was instantly killed. The most famous account of the Ark's power comes from the Battle of Jericho. For 7 days, the Israelites marched around the fortified city, the Ark carried by priests at the head of their procession. On the 7th day, they circled 7 times. The priests blew their horns, the people shouted, and the mighty walls of Jericho came tumbling down. Then, sometime around 586 BCE, the Ark vanished from history. When Nebuchadnezzar's armies destroyed Solomon's temple in Jerusalem, the Ark was nowhere to be found. Some scholars believe it was captured and melted down for its gold. Others suggest it was hidden away, spirited to safety before the Babylonian invasion. This disappearance has spawned countless theories. Ethiopia claims the Ark rests in the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion in Axum, guarded by a single monk who alone may look upon it. Others point to caves beneath the Temple Mount, or even suggest it was taken to Europe by the Knights Templar. But without physical evidence, the Ark exists in that twilight realm between history and legend. In recent decades, a startling theory has emerged. What if the Ark wasn't just a religious artifact, but an actual weapon of mass destruction? The idea gained prominence through the work of researchers who noticed something peculiar about the Ark's construction details. The golden covering, the precise dimensions, the wooden core, these specifications bear an uncanny resemblance to a massive electrical capacitor. In this theory, the Ark was essentially a giant Leyden jar, capable of storing tremendous electrical charge. The gold plating would serve as conductors, while the wood acted as an insulator, creating a device that could accumulate and discharge lethal amounts of static electricity. Consider the climate of the ancient Middle East: dry, arid conditions perfect for building up static charge. The Ark, carried by poles to prevent direct contact, could have accumulated electrical potential as it moved. Anyone who touched it directly would receive a potentially fatal shock, explaining the mysterious death of Uzzah and the plagues that befell the Philistines. But could electricity explain the fall of Jericho? Some theorists propose that the Ark generated a powerful electromagnetic field, possibly through a form of early radio transmission. The procession around Jericho, they argue, was actually a ritual designed to broadcast a specific frequency, one that would resonate with the limestone foundations of the city walls, causing them to crumble through harmonic vibration. This isn't as far-fetched as it might sound. Modern engineers know that every structure has a resonant frequency, and if you can match that frequency with sufficient amplitude, you can indeed bring down buildings. The famous Tacoma Narrows Bridge collapse in 1940 demonstrated this principle dramatically. But does this theory hold up to scientific scrutiny? Dr. Michael Sanders, an electrical engineer at MIT, analyzed the Ark's specifications and concluded that while it could theoretically function as a capacitor, the power levels would be insufficient for the effects described in ancient texts. You might get enough charge to kill someone who touched it directly, but generating electromagnetic fields powerful enough to topple stone walls? That would require technology far beyond anything available in the ancient world. The math is daunting. To generate the kind of electromagnetic pulse needed to demolish fortifications would require enormous amounts of electrical energy, far more than any ancient capacitor could store. Even modern military EMP weapons require sophisticated power systems and nuclear technology to achieve such effects. Furthermore, archaeologists point out that while the Israelites were skilled in metalworking, there's no evidence they possessed the advanced understanding of electrical principles that such a weapon would require. The knowledge of how to harness and direct electrical energy in a controlled manner didn't emerge until thousands of years later. So if the Ark wasn't a superweapon, how do we explain the extraordinary events attributed to it? Historians and archaeologists offer several possibilities. The simplest explanation is that many of these accounts are mythological stories embellished over centuries of oral tradition before being written down. Ancient peoples often attributed divine power to sacred objects, and victories in battle were commonly credited to the favor of the gods rather than military strategy or superior technology. The fall of Jericho, for instance, might have been the result of conventional siege warfare, earthquake activity, or internal betrayal. The ancient city was located near the Jordan River fault line, where seismic activity was common. A well-timed earthquake could easily explain the collapse of Bronze Age fortifications. As for the deaths associated with touching the Ark, these could have been the result of disease, poison, or simple coincidence later interpreted through a religious lens. In an age before germ theory, sudden illness or death was often attributed to supernatural causes. There's also the possibility that the Ark did possess some unusual properties, but not through advanced technology. Some researchers have suggested that certain combinations of metals and organic materials could indeed generate mild electrical effects through galvanic action, enough to produce a startling shock, but hardly a superweapon. Perhaps the true power of the Ark lay not in any physical properties, but in its psychological impact. In ancient warfare, morale and belief often determined victory more than weapons or numbers. An army that believed they carried an invincible divine weapon would fight with extraordinary courage and determination. Their enemies, faced with troops who seemed to possess supernatural backing, might easily break and flee. The mere reputation of the Ark could have been worth a dozen battalions. This kind of psychological warfare was well understood in the ancient world. The Romans, for instance, deliberately cultivated fear of their military might to win battles before they were even fought. The elaborate rituals surrounding the Ark, the special priestly garments, the careful protocols for handling and transport, the cloud of incense and mystery, all served to enhance its aura of divine power. In a world where the supernatural and natural were not clearly distinguished, this psychological weapon could indeed have been devastatingly effective. Today, the search for the Ark continues. Ground-penetrating radar scans beneath the Temple Mount, archaeological expeditions in Ethiopia, and careful analysis of ancient texts all seek to solve this enduring mystery. But perhaps the question isn't whether the Ark was a superweapon in the technological sense we understand today. The Ark of the Covenant represents something far more profound: humanity's eternal quest to find the divine in the material world, to bridge the gap between the sacred and the profane. Whether it was a chest of gold and wood, a sophisticated ancient device, or something else entirely, its true power lay in what it represented: the belief that the impossible could become possible. In our age of smart weapons and digital warfare, the idea of an ancient superweapon captures our imagination because it reminds us that mystery and wonder haven't been entirely conquered by science. The Ark of the Covenant remains what it has always been, a testament to the power of human faith, fear, and the eternal search for something greater than ourselves. Until physical evidence emerges, the Ark will continue to exist in that fascinating borderland between history and legend, challenging us to question what we think we know about the capabilities of our ancestors and the nature of the divine itself.